kids, man. They gotta eat.
Time for the takeover. Time for the takeover.
So my name is Dane Miller. I own Garage Strengths here in Reading, Pennsylvania. I've coached at the Olympics twice, and I've also coached at 9 different world championships with track and field and Olympic weightlifting.
Hi, my name is Nicole Lytle, and I'm a junior on the Fordham track and field team.
Hi, my name is Chris Brandt. I'm an athletic trainer and strength and conditioning specialist working in outpatient rehab right now.
I'm Sam Mattis. I'm a 2-time Olympic discus thrower for Team USA, 2-time national champion, been on the USA podium since 2018, NCAA champion, high school national champion. I've been throwing professionally for, this is going to be my 9th or 10th year, I think.
Hi, my name's Sieta Mensa, and I'm a shot putter at Archbishop Carroll High School.
Visualization before sport, so before practice, but more so before a game is important because it allows you the mental reps ahead of competition. So when you actually get to competition time, those movement patterns are just innate and you move through those patterns without having to think mentally.
When you look at yourself from another person's perspective, you see yourself in a different light because we see ourselves differently.
When I first started visualization, I would rely on YouTube videos and like other people's guided meditations to get me where I wanted. But now I've grown more confident in my visualization abilities. And I kind of know what I need to picture in order to produce success.
I implement this a lot pre-meet and just preparing myself before I hop in the circle to make sure I know like I can do what my goals are.
Usually before like really big meets like nationals, Olympic trials, or the Olympics, I'll, for the 2, maybe 3 weeks ahead of time, really just like sit down for 10 minutes a day outside of just meditation, or like this will be my full meditation is just visualization. So I really try to nail down like basically just everything that I'll be going through on that day, so that when I get there, it's not a shock. Like maybe obviously, you know, your anxiety's running a little high, your adrenaline's running high because of the meet, but you don't feel out of place or unfamiliar with it. You're like, okay, I've been here before. Mentally, I know exactly what I need to do. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do it.
And ultimately, I think it's definitely positively impacted my performance on the track.
All right, so when we talk about self-talk, positive self-talk can actually be a good motivational strategy for athletes to do pre-competition, post-competition, where you look at negative self-talk can be very detrimental to performance.
So when it comes to self-talk, I think this is probably an area where I can use some improvement. Definitely in training, I'm pretty negative.
I struggle with negative self-talk a lot. It can be hard to be positive every single time you're at a track practice or you're at a track meet.
I've struggled with self-talk in a very negative aspect. And I think that the biggest thing about self-talk is trying to like remove yourself from yourself, remove your ego, right? And look at yourself from the outside.
So I'm usually like, just do it. It's not hard, just do it. And that can get a little negative, but in meets, I'm usually not quite as negative. That sort of just do it ends up being like, all right, come on, you got this. Like, you practiced, you're ready, like you can do this.
So when I am engaging in negative self-talk, I try to have those moments because I think it's also not realistic to push that away completely, because it's totally normal to feel down on yourself when you don't perform the way you wanted to. I remind myself that setbacks are normal and it's all part of my journey towards success.
Self-talk is really important in a positive aspect, and I think that if you can use mantras on a daily basis in training, and if you can use a mantra even on a daily basis when you're trying to execute tests, those mantras are really, they should be, I like to establish them anyway, from looking at myself from the external perspectives.
For goal setting, my coach and I usually will sit down 2 to 4 weeks after the last season has ended and lay out like, all right, what went well, what went poorly, what can we improve upon for the prior season, and then look forward to the next year and be like, all right, what do you want to do, what's realistic, and then work backwards from there.
I think the biggest thing with goal setting is actually recognizing it's not just like, I want to do this and that's what I'm going to do. The goal should be realistic. There's a short-term realistic goal. Then there's a reach goal that, let's say, is a year or 2 years.
I believe that every athlete should set short-term goals for their in-season and off-season programming, as well as future goals for long-term. That allows for success, and it allows for self-measure too. So you can see where your strengths are and your weaknesses and what you need to build on each year that you go through competition.
I track my goals and hold myself accountable through my journal. I try to journal every night, and I'm pretty consistent with it. And I think without my journal, I really would have trouble holding myself accountable, because my journal allows me to have a concrete material format for documenting my goals, and then also looking back on my goals and thinking, okay, what did I accomplish? What did I not accomplish? And how can I do better moving forward?
Sometimes you have to readjust to what's realistic, but that's totally okay, because generally I've just believed that if you're doing the best that you can do, like, you can't really be upset with that, because that's as good as you can do. That's as hard, like, you've tried as hard as you can, so you just have to be very satisfied with the work you put in, and that's usually how we approach goal setting.
I know, based off USA weightlifting, USA track and field, I know with talking with Athletics Ireland, Athletics Canada, there's consistent discussions around mental health and how athletes feel, and also how poor sleep, poor recovery can actually lead to a negative aspect of mental health.
I think the mental aspect of sports has generally been neglected over time, and I think the last definitely 10 years it's gotten a lot bigger. I remember when I started meditating like more intensely and more frequently, I was one of the only people who was doing that within my sphere of track and field. Everybody has maybe not a ceiling, but like a point where they can realistically get to physically, but if you can push the mental side so that you can actually bring 100% no matter how you're feeling, you're just going to see exponential returns, and I think that's just a really cool thing that's happening within sports, and will be really cool to watch going forward.
Some of my teammates have expressed to me that they haven't had the same success in visualization as I have, but it's the kind of thing where I'm like, practice makes perfect, and it's a journey, and it's not going to come initially. You're not going to initially start visualizing and then immediately perform better necessarily. It's not a linear experience, and it's going to take time to figure out what works best for you. But at the end of the day, I think it's something that's totally worth trying and worth investing your time in, because of how beneficial I think it can be.
When it comes to your sport, you kind of have to focus on that one task, and it's hard to do that when you have a lot of things going on like around you. So I think the emphasis will just be even more, because the world only gets more chaotic, but at the same time, technology and all these other things only advance, and I think that's the same thing with these techniques.
My advice would be like, start meditating now. You're gonna feel better, you're gonna do better in sports eventually because of it, which is really cool. But I just like meditating at this point because I feel better like day to day afterwards. I notice if I don't meditate for like 3 to 5 days that my mood isn't quite as steady. I get a little more distracted by things, it's harder to focus, but when I'm really meditating, I just feel good. Like mentally and physically, there's definitely like a big connection between how you're feeling mentally and physically. And I wish I started meditating earlier so that it was more of an ingrained practice. And, you know, I'm seeing the benefits now after years, but if I could have started when I was like 15, 16, that would have been awesome. So just start now. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just try to do it every day. If you miss a day, don't freak out. Do it the next day, and, you know, see where it takes you from there.